Well, let's start off. The Jacksonville Jaguars actually won a game. They actually won a game. The Tank for Trevor vibes are off, at least for now. They were able to beat the Indianapolis Colts. Granted, they were at home, but they still beat the Indianapolis Colts, ran by Philip Rivers. They had a great game. You know who really had a great game? Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania is still running wild into year 2. He threw 3 touchdowns. One to the rookie, Laviska Shenault. He also threw one to DJ Chark, and then also one to Keelan Cole. On the defensive side, they didn't do so great, but rookie CJ Henderson, he got an interception. He picked off future Hall of Famer Philip Rivers, as well as Kavlon Chason would have had an interception, but it was called back to a penalty. So 2 rookies, both having picks, granted one was called back, is a great way to start the season. So that is my quick recap. So as mentioned, the Jacksonville Jaguars did sadly lose their game this week to the Tennessee Titans. They were so close. It was a back and forth matchup. Gardner Minshew had a great game, threw over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, threw a touchdown to running back Chris Thompson, threw a touchdown to our tight end Tyler Eifert, and he threw a touchdown to Keelan Cole. So he had a good game, but he did have 2 interceptions. Both were tips, though. The last interception definitely hurt on their last drive. It was a tip, ended in an interception, and ended the game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. However, who did break out during that game? Undrafted rookie free agent James Robinson. I know I asked you guys last week, should we add him? Well, he had over 100 yards and a touchdown. I think we might have to add him next week. We'll see how well he's rated on the next Madden update. But the Jaguars defense did terrible. Ryan Tannehill was able to get 4 touchdowns against them. Hard to win a game when you give up 4 touchdowns through the air. And that is our review. Again, it was Fitzmagic versus Minshew Mania, the beard versus the mustache, and Magic Trump Mania. Ryan Fitzmagic had a great game. He had multiple touchdowns, even rushed for a touchdown, while Gardner Minshew, on the other hand, threw 2 interceptions and had a costly fumble that put Fitzmagic in the red zone already. The only real bright spot for the Jacksonville Jaguars offense was their undrafted rookie running back, James Robinson, having 2 touchdowns, a bunch of receiving yards, a bunch of rushing yards, equal to over 100 yards for the game. Laviska Shenault actually had a decent game, too, had a really nice catch between 2 defenders, but the Jacksonville Jaguars pass defense is terrible, kind of like our game. We'll dive into that later. But man, Ryan Fitzmagic had a great game. Myles Gaskin had a good game against this defense, so they definitely need to bounce back, and that was a rough game to have on prime time. Jaguars get blown out by the Miami Dolphins. And there is our minute. It wasn't a lot of great highlights. So, like I told you, sadly, it was another Jacksonville Jaguars loss. In real life, they are 1-3. I'm a positive guy. Let's go over what positively happened here. DJ Chark finally broke out, and I have my fantasy team, so I was very happy. He had 2 touchdowns. 1 touchdown almost looks like an interception, but he was able to get 2 touchdowns in a day, a bunch of other yards. James Robinson looked good. Man, for a smaller guy, he can clash and bang with the best of them. Also, Laviska Shenault continues to look like an amazing dynamic player. Another positive thing for this game is they helped Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals break out. Joe Mixon finally broke out with 3 touchdowns. Also my fantasy team, so I was happy about that. But man, their defense got trashed by Joe Mixon. 3 touchdowns, a whole bunch of yards, and it came with a loss. Jaguars just did not look good. I guess they could throw in Myles Jack got an interception. That's nice. But another loss on the road to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully we can change that in real life. So the Jacksonville Jaguars gave the Houston Texans, led by head coach Romeo Crennel's, first win of the season. That's a positive, at least for the Texans. Positives for the Jaguars. Keelan Cole did have a nice touchdown grab. Colin Johnson, rookie wide receiver out of Texas, our second-string tight end, got his first touchdown and an awesome grab in the end zone, diving grab. James Robinson didn't have a great game. It wasn't a bad game, but did not surpass 100 yards through the air or ground. Gardner Minshew did have 2 touchdowns and 300 yards, but had a costly fumble towards the end of the game. Of course, Deshaun Watson had a great game, throwing all over the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. He just tore them apart on the ground through the air. It was a pretty rough performance. And Jacksonville Jaguars kicker missed 2 field goals, which were huge momentum killers. So happy we have a superstar kicker in Josh Lambo this year. And There's our minute. No, the Jacksonville Jaguars lost again. They've only won one game this season, just like the Detroit Lions, who beat them here in this game. They got ran all over. Adrian Peterson, old man Adrian Peterson, scored a touchdown. DeAndre Swift, the rookie, scored 2 touchdowns at 100 yards, his biggest game yet. Kenny Golladay, that big man, ran all over the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. The defense had so many penalties. It looked so sloppy. Gardner Minshew didn't have a bad game, but definitely wasn't great. He had a rushing touchdown. He had a passing touchdown to James Robinson, but he also fumbled and threw a pretty bad pick when he was targeting DJ Chark. I would say Keelan Cole did have a good game. He had over 100 yards. He was definitely a go-to target for Gardner Minshew. And G.I. Joe Schobert had a big game. He had a big interception, caught an interception off a tip. And we had a kicker who made a kick, but also missed a kick. It was his first kick ever making in the NFL. But another loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And our minute is up. Well, it was definitely an exciting loss. I know we're used to hearing losses, but this one was a very exciting loss that definitely could have gone the Jacksonville Jaguars' way. Gardner Minshew had a pretty good game, got sacked a couple too many times, but no turnovers. Especially that's impressive, but playing with a broken thumb or a shattered thumb, whatever he has injured. But he threw for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. James Robinson had his best rushing game to date, over 100 yards, I think 119 yards. Had 1 rushing touchdown, 1 catching touchdown. Conley, old man Conley, had a touchdown. But the story goes, Jacksonville Jaguars defense hurt them again. They just let up way too many points. Justin Herbert, the rookie sensation, had 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Jaguars even had the lead going late in the game, but D.D. Westbrook had a very costly fumble on a kick return, which gave, I think, the Los Angeles Chargers the momentum to win the game. One highlight of maybe the defense and special teams, though, rookie Daniel Thomas not only blocked a punt, but he returned it for a touchdown, which was very impressive. And that's our time. The Jaguars only have 1 win all season. It came off the first game. This was a loss against the Houston Texans for the 2nd time this season. Jake Luton got the start for his very first start. Had a huge first touchdown pass to DJ Chark to start out the game. Great touchdown. DJ Chark had a great game, under almost 150 yards. Again, with that touchdown. James Robinson almost had 100 yards. He was at 99 yards. Had a rushing touchdown to go along with it. Jake Luton had a good game. Almost came back. Had a very clutch run, about 13 yards to get a touchdown. But when he tried to tie it up with a 2-point conversion, sadly, he missed DJ Chark in the end zone. And they ended up falling to the Houston Texans. Again, that defense, just like in our game, has been struggling. They have not been able to stop or slow down Deshaun Watson or any quarterback. They did force a fumble, which was nice, but Jake Luton also had a turnover. It was almost a pick 6, so that definitely hurt. Again, another loss to Jacksonville Jaguars, but it was a close game that they almost won. It was another loss from the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they were very close. They were within a touchdown of beating the Green Bay Packers. James Robinson had a great game. He had his 3rd 100-yard rushing game for the season. Not bad for an undrafted rookie. And he also had 2 touchdowns called back on holding calls. Ouch. Keelan Cole also had a great game. He had a touchdown catch from the rookie quarterback Jake Luton. And he also returned a punt, which was the longest punt return in franchise history. Big game for him. On defense, there was a big game. Sidney Jones was able to pick off Aaron Rodgers, as well as rookie C.J. Henderson was able to make Devontae Adams fumble. That fumble was picked up by Myles Jack. It was a very close game, but they just could not contend with Aaron Rodgers. He threw way too many touchdown passes. It was not even competition between Luton and Rodgers. Of course, that would be the case. But the Jacksonville Jaguars fought hard in Lambeau Field, didn't get blown out, and I think had a good moral victory, if there ever is such a thing. Well, no news is good news, I guess. Jaguars lost again. Not a big breaking news story. Some positives, though. James Robinson did break 1,000 yards for the season as an undrafted rookie free agent running back. That is insane. The Jaguars scored first. That was impressive. But Jake Luton threw 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions. I wish it was 4 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. 2 to Minkah Fitzpatrick, 2 to Trey Edmonds. 3 were in the 4th quarter, so he's definitely trying to make up after they got down. But he could not keep up with Big Ben Roethlisberger. Chase Claypool had a big touchdown. They celebrated Juju Smith's birthday. It was hilarious, but not for the Jaguars. They go down again. Daniel Thomas, though, the rookie safety, had another big game. He had a big interception in the end zone. Last week, he had a great game as well. But another loss from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looks like they are rolling to a top 3 pick. Hopefully, again, this week we can do much better. again, not much to cover in a minute because not a lot of good happened. The Jacksonville Jaguars were a missed field goal away from winning the game and 2 missed two-point conversions from winning this game. It was so close. They had the lead at multiple points in the game. James Robinson is legit. He had a touchdown over 100 yards. He is an amazing undrafted rookie free agent. And Mike Glennon started at quarterback, the man who I will not let on our franchise team in Madden 21. He had a great game, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. He had a touchdown to Tyler Eifert, who's blowing up in our game right now, and a touchdown to rookie Colin Johnson. But again, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense could not hold the Browns. Jarvis Landry had his biggest game of the season. Nick Chubb, back from injury, ran all over them. When Mike Glennon throws 2 touchdowns, you got to capitalize on that. And you've got to at least make one of the 2-point conversions or make that field goal. I know they're on their 30th kicker with Rosas, but you got to convert on those close games. That would have been a big win beating the Browns. But again, the Jaguars lose. This is the game the Jacksonville Jaguars should have won. They should have beat the Minnesota Vikings, but they lose again. Here's some positives, though. Laviska Shenault opened the game with an amazing deflection touchdown. Somehow Mike Glennon got him the ball. Also, we had a pick 6. G.I. Joe Schobert had a great game. He had a pick 6. The defense actually played really well this game. They had 4 sacks on Captain Kirk Cousins. James Robinson, of course, had another great game. He had a touchdown. But the Jaguars couldn't capitalize on the defense's great play. Mike Glennon, yeah, he did move the ball, but he threw 2 interceptions, one being a costly one in overtime, and he also had a safety. He just can't be the starting quarterback for the Jaguars. The Vikings tried to give this game away. Dan Bailey missed a field goal, which would have sealed the deal, but they ended up going to overtime. The Jaguars defense even stopped the Vikings, who got the ball first. But again, that interception by Mike Glennon put the Vikings in position to score and win in overtime. It was a clash of the Titans. Well, only one Titan, because the Jaguars did not show up. After their loss in overtime, the wind was out of their sails. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was able to pull off a flea flicker, getting an amazing touchdown to A.J. Brown to start out the game. Derrick Henry, the Yeti, ran all over them, running for 2 touchdowns, over 200 yards. Ryan Tannehill had 2 touchdowns on the day, one to a no-name tight end, Swain. It was just an ugly game. The Jaguars looked defeated right away. Let's go to positives, though. Mike Glennon was benched. Mike Glennon was benched after throwing an ugly interception to Butler. Gardner Minshew Mania is back on. He came back in. He looked exciting. He threw a touchdown to Keelan Cole. He actually made some plays with his feet. There's so much more upside with Gardner Minshew. Jags, stay with him for the rest of the season. And one other positive, the undrafted free agent rookie, James Robinson, reached 1,000 rushing yards for the season. Very, very impressive. Good job, James. And it was another blowout loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The reigning defending MVP, the Madden cover boy Lamar Jackson, had a huge game. He had 3 touchdowns through the air, one to Mark Andrews, one to a no-name receiver, and another to Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant gets his first touchdown in 3 years. Lamar Jackson, of course, being the dual threat he is, also rushed for a touchdown. It wasn't all bad. The Jacksonville Jaguars did force 1 interception to Lamar Jackson, but the very next series, Gardner Minshew was sacked for a safety. Gardner Minshew didn't have a great game. He didn't have a bad game, though. He did throw 2 touchdowns, one to James Robinson, one to the con man, Conley. But in a revenge game, Ngakoue did force a fumble from Gardner Minshew. Another terrible loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They desperately need this season to be over. The Jacksonville Jaguars have clinched the worst record in the NFL, but they also clinched the #1 pick in the NFL draft. Hopefully, they can lock up Trevor Lawrence, because this game showed how bad the quarterback play is. Mike Glennon was terrible. He threw picks. He did not look confident at all, but we are also facing Mitch Terrible Trubisky, who also did not look great, but he did look better than Mike Glennon. He did throw for 2 touchdowns to old man Jimmy Graham. He rushed one in as well. Mike Glennon, I'll give him some credit. He threw a beautiful pass to DJ Chark for a touchdown and a contested catch to rookie Laviska Shenault for a touchdown. But the Bears just ran over Jacksonville Jaguars. Even literally, they had 2 rushing touchdowns. One from David Montgomery, which I was happy about, still my fantasy team, and the other stolen by a vulture which hurt my fantasy team, which I ended up losing in fantasy in the championship. Sad times. Anyways, the Jacksonville Jaguars lose again, but lock up the worst record in the NFL. And in the season finale, the Jacksonville Jaguars faced off against the Indianapolis Colts, the one team they beat this season, but this week in Indianapolis, they did not win. Phillip Rivers out-dueled Mike Glennon, not by much. He threw a touchdown to T.Y. Hilton, while Mike Glennon got sacked 5 times and fumbled, which caused the Colts to score. Jonathan Taylor ran all over the Jaguars. He had over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked like a young Edgerrin James. The one positive on the Jacksonville Jaguars side, though, was rookie Laviska Shenault. He had 2 receiving touchdowns and looked pretty good for the day. They've got a good wide receiver there for the future. Thankfully, this is the last game of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll have to start Mike Glennon, and now Trevor Lawrence Legion will be in Jacksonville now that the Jacksonville Jaguars have secured the worst record in the NFL and the first pick in the NFL draft.